Good evening. So, the moment that I have been waiting for finally happened. It happened actually Monday, June 26th, 2023. And of course, I missed it. So, I'm going to recap that. We finally have President Trump. As far as I know, this is the first time Trump has acknowledged RFK Jr. and what is happening with RFK Jr. This happened Monday, June 26th, 2023, on the Howie Carr Show. This was a radio show. So I'm going to play this. This is about a 1 minute and a half clip. And of course, I always want to do a little audio check. Cool. Audio check is always good, but you never know. You never want to get on here and all of a sudden you're just talking to yourself and no one can hear you. So I'm going to play this. Let's do this.
Bobby Kennedy, he's a Democrat from the first family, they used to call it, and he's taking almost as much heat as you are from fake news. What would you tell Bobby Kennedy?
Just hang in. I mean, they go after. He's been very nice to me. I've actually had a very nice relationship with him over the years. He's a very smart guy and a good guy. He said Trump's the greatest debater, and you can't just not debating going against Trump. I was very honored by the fact that he said that. I'm glad he feels that. But he's a very good man, and his heart is in the right place, and he's doing really well. I suppose he's at 22. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Doing very well.
So have you talked to him lately?
No, I haven't. I would, but I haven't. Okay. There's a lot of things. He's a common sense guy, and so am I. So whether you're conservative or liberal, common sense is common sense. And a lot of what I run on is common sense. We need a wall, and we built most of it, but they didn't want to finish up the extra area. I wanted to do more. After we got it built, I wanted to do more. But without that, we had the best numbers in the border, as you know, because you've said it many times. We had the best numbers in history.
Yeah.
And now we have the worst numbers, I think, of any country ever in the world. Okay.
Well,
no country would allow this.
Mr. President, I know you got to run, so we welcome you back to New Hampshire and New England tomorrow, and look forward to seeing you again. And and you're welcome on the show anytime you want. Thank you.
I love doing your show. Thanks, Howie.
Thanks, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, there it is. So that was just the short clip there, about a minute. This was before Trump's some of his two more powerful speeches, but this is good. This was just a little radio clip. I have a few clips that I don't know if they're even uploaded yet, if they're fully uploaded, I should say, but I'm going to check that because I did want to play a few of those other clips. Okay, so it looks like at least one is up. Let me just make sure that is the case. Yeah, so that's good. Quality is a little bit low, but that's okay. I just literally just uploaded this. This one is about a 4-minute clip. And this is kind of on the other side. This is RFK Jr. talking, kind of responding to what Trump said there. I didn't even know Trump had said that until I looked at another video. I'm so glad that Trump did respond to that. I know it's not a big deal to a lot of people, but to me it is and was and will be. So with that said, I will play this 4 or 5 minute clip here. I guess just before that, maybe I'll go back to a little bit, back to what Trump said, I believe back in May. And this was pretty good. So I can open this up. So, well, actually, you know what? No, it's not really. Let me stick to the topic at hand here. So, go back. This is there's two, Kennedy talks about briefly in the second clip. It's a 17-second clip, but this one is about 4 minutes long. This one happened first. Now this one, so I can get this all set up and ready. Of course, it jumps right to it. This clip here that I'm about to play, it's still, the quality is really low. It's 360, but it needs to upload to the higher quality. But this was a town hall meeting that I believe RFK Jr. did today, earlier this morning, or yesterday, June 28th or June 29th, 2023. And so he talks about this during a town hall with Nation News. He talks about, well, I'll just kind of let it speak for itself. But this is from the town hall meeting in Chicago, either today or yesterday morning. And let's hear what the presidential nominee on the Democrat side has to say about Mr. President Trump.
And, people have said to me, why don't you run as an independent? Why don't you? And I say, because I'm a Democrat. This is who I am. This is my identity, but I want my party back. I want my party to be the party that I grew up in, the party of John Kennedy, the party of Robert Kennedy, the party of FDR and Harry Truman.
You say that you're a Democrat, but you're getting a lot of support from a lot of leading voices on the right, like Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, former President Donald Trump. Many Democrats fear that you're a spoiler in the race, that you will damage President Biden in the primary and grease the skids for former President Trump to return to the Oval Office. This week, former President Trump said about you, Kennedy is smart and he's a common sense guy. What kind of man do you think Donald Trump is?
Well, here's what I'm not going to do in this race. I'm not going to attack other people personally. I don't think it's good for our country. And I think, what I'm trying to do in this race is bring people together, is to try to bridge the divide between Americans. And guess what? When my dad died and we took this train ride from, this 7.5-hour train ride that was supposed to be 2 hours, and I was with him when he died in Los Angeles. And then we brought his body from New York, Penn Station to Union Station and Washington, D.C. And it was a 2.5-hour ride, but it took 7.5 hours because there were 2.5 million people on that train track. And it was the cross-section of America and all of the major urban stations in Trenton, Newark, Wilmington, and Baltimore. There were Black Americans singing Battle Hymn of the Republic. There were whites in the rural areas who are holding up signs, "Goodbye, Bobby, pray for us, Bobby," American flag, standing, saluting. 4 years later, and they had supported my father in the primaries in 1968. 4 years later, in 1972, they were not supporting my father, and they were not supporting George McGovern, who was aligned with my father on all these issues. Instead, the vast majority of them were supporting George Wallace. And, my father was able to harness these populist energies. In the last day of his life, he won the most rural state in this country, South Dakota, and the most urban. He was able to bridge the divide among people who would otherwise be Republican, but wanted somebody who was common sense, who was able to appeal to their idealism, who was able to find the hero in each of them, who was able to get them to transcend narrow self-interest and see themselves as part of a community and part of this, incredible American adventure in modeling self-governance for the rest of the world. And so I'm proud that President Trump likes me, even though I don't agree with him on most of his issues. Because I don't want to alienate people. I want to bring people together. I'm proud that all these people like me and that I have independent supporters and Democratic supporters, and that I'm able to bring a lot of people. Every Democrat says, I want to end the polarization. But how do you do that without talking to people who don't agree with you? How do you do that without appealing to people? My purpose is to find the issues, the values that we have in common, rather than, focus on the issues and the personalities that keep us all apart.
As a lifelong Democrat, as you just said very passionately, will you pledge to support whoever the Democratic nominee is, whoever it is, whether it's you, whether it's President Biden?
Oh, of course I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. No, of course I'm not.
So
listen,
if you don't get the nomination, you won't support President Biden?
I don't know what I'll do. Let's see let's see what happens in this campaign. Let's see, if people are living up to democratic values and having debates and having discussions and, talking to each other, but I'm not going to
buy. And if you feel that's not happening, would you then support a Republican or run as an independent?
You know what? My plan is to win this election, and I don't have a plan B.
Okay.
Here it is. He does not have a plan B. And why would he, right? He's because a lot of people are not taking RFK Jr. seriously, and they better start doing that. I think Biden is. I really think Trump is, especially based on what we just heard there. Trump was trying to get off that topic. It really seemed like to me. But that's a nice, I like the way both of these candidates are talking about each other. This is what we want. This is what our country needs. We talk about healing the polarization of this country. Even that host, and I forget what the host's name is, but even she is like, well, it's almost like she wants Kennedy to go on party lines. Like we can't. It's all about Trump, right? She's kind of in that camp. We got to get Trump out. Got to make sure he doesn't get back in. And it's not for these people. It's not about who is the best candidate, who is the best person, who is the one that we should vote for. It's party lines here, and Trump gets caught up in that too. And so it's nice to hear that Trump is not as much caught up in the party lines as some may want us to think that he is. So that was really nice to hear. It was good to hear. I enjoyed hearing that. Now, I really enjoy President Trump's speeches. They're very entertaining. And I really enjoy RFK's speeches and his talks. They're very entertaining too, in almost two different ways. Trump can do these speeches how RFK does. I don't think RFK can do these speeches how Trump does, but he can do it in a more polite and respectful way, where Trump, kind of take the gloves off. And I feel like Kennedy still keeps those gloves on, even when he's not really going after people, but trying to be respectful, but at the same time trying to let people know that, hey, there's a lot of things that he disagrees with Biden on. But he will say, RFK Jr. will say that he's friends with Biden. Well, voters need to hear that too, right? Voters are hearing that. The Democrat voters who like Biden, or who just want to vote for Biden for whatever reason, there are people out there like that. And so Trump is not really he's not centralizing on the party lines. And you can see that because you have a lot of Trump's own party who attack him constantly. And you see the same thing with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. His own party is attacking him too, constantly. So that is pretty interesting to hear. There is another 16-second clip, but I don't know if it's actually uploaded yet. Most likely not. Oh, it has. Okay. So this is kind of the part 2. This one is just 26 seconds. So I will go ahead and play this, and then we'll kind of move on, because this kind of ties back in to what RFK Jr. was saying. So let me go here, do a share. Boom. So this is just literally just a 20-second clip here. And I will go ahead and play this.
And I'm not going to attack President Trump, because we've had enough of that. We need to figure out a way to start talking to each other and to start healing each other and stop, just hating on each other. This polarization is more dangerous. It's been in this country since the Civil War. And we need to figure out, ways to start talking to Americans with whom we disagree.
So that is just kind of that really sums it up. And that is what I think a lot of the people at this point want to hear. And if you go to President Trump's website, if you look at Truth Social, what he's posting there, it's attack, 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 attack. It's not a lot of bringing people together. At least you don't hear that. Now, if you back somebody into a corner, you can understand why President Trump has taken that stance. And, when RFK gets backed into a corner, at least I hear some of the same things. RFK says some of the same things that President Trump says in a different way, but the similarities are still growing. And I really think even during this whole News Nation talk, the town hall that happened in Chicago, the full clip is about 90 minutes, almost 90 minutes. And the host does a little bit of jabbing at Kennedy, especially when they start talking about the vaccines, that's when it really, that's when you can tell they really try to put Kennedy on the defensive with the vaccines and his views on vaccines. And he has some great counters to it, and he has some really great points. So, but that's when I kind of see him he kind of lights up, and you can tell that that's a soft spot, and he has some good ideas, some very good ideas of how we can change a lot of those issues, and he knows how to drain the swamp. So he talks a lot about that. And I'm gonna cut to another clip. I don't think the drain the swamp one was in part 2. Yeah, that's too bad, because that was a really good clip where he talks about how to drain the swamp. Like, he really breaks it down, the swamp thing. So that is in part. That's in part 2, where he talks about the swamp. He's not really going after President Trump, but he really kind of lays in to the swamp and all of that. So he gets. Well, you know what? I'm going to play that one too. So that's in part 2. I had part 3 queued up, but let me see if I can queue up part 2 as well, because that one is really good too. So I know I can. This is why it's good to timestamp these things. And another reason, I'm just having so much fun writing this book, and really going deep, kind of investigating and just looking into, going back and forth, and it's bringing back so many memories. And so I think I had another clip queued up, but I'm going to play this one. I think this one, we'll start here, because I want to hear about where RFK Jr. talks about draining the swamp. So let me see. This one is, says he's, very interesting views. I mean, if you just listen to him, and he did something, he was talking about this today in the Chicago town hall. He went to Japan, did something, and his voice is better. So his voice is really better. That's how he starts off the town hall meeting. And I noticed that too, because I've heard some of his stuff in the past years ago, and it was hard to listen to what RFK Jr. was saying, and it is getting better. It seems to be getting a lot better, and hopefully with time, with healing, those voice issues that he's having, the neurological issues that he's having, he's definitely working on it and trying to get over it, to get better. So let's go ahead and play this one, because I think this one is good. I like to hear him not go after Donald Trump, but I really just want to hear, what does he say about Donald Trump? And I think that's what a lot of voters want to hear too. I could be wrong, but that's what I think, is we want to hear his views on Donald Trump. I do. I know, I'm very, very curious. So this is a good one. This is a good little clip here, because he is talking. The question is, what qualifies you to be president? And it goes into some of those things about draining the swamp, and how he's pretty much saying he's the one who knows how to drain the swamp. So I think I got the time queued up
It's a
here.
direct violation of Thomas Jefferson's vision of an American democracy rooted in tens of thousands of independent freeholds, all owned by family farmers, each with a stake in our system of government.
It's coming.
So it's a threat not only to the middle class, to our food supply, our food safety, but also ultimately democracy. I don't think that there's any other person running in this country who has the capacity to correct those issues. Well, I've dealt so intimately with these regulatory agencies. Usually when a politician comes into office in Washington, they vow to clean up the swamp, but they get there and they're intimidated by these agencies that may have 30,000 or 50,000 employees, and they have no idea how to reform them. So they bring in somebody to run that agency, somebody who's safe, which is usually somebody from industry. So President Trump promised to reform Washington, but he came into office saying, I'm going to, even he even talked about medicine and about vaccines and these kinds of things. He then took $1 million from Pfizer, and he appointed a Pfizer partner, Scott Gottlieb, to run FDA. And and another Pfizer handpicked nominee, Alex Azar, right from the middle of the pharmaceutical industry to run HHS. And Gottlieb then ushered through the Pfizer product and made $88 billion for his company, and then left FDA to rejoin the Pfizer board. That's not ending the swamp. That is making the swamp even deeper. And I know when I go in there how to fix DOT, how to fix HHS, NIH, CDC, EPA, all of the three later agencies, because I've litigated against them and I've been thinking for 40 years, how do you unravel corporate capture at these agencies? And I know how to do it. I know how to reorganize those agencies to end the revolving doors, to end these financial entanglements with the industries they're supposed to regulate. And in many cases, I know the specific individuals in those agencies who need to be moved out. And that's why I think I'm in better shape than anybody else to reform, to get the kind of reforms that the American people want.
Thank you.
Next question comes from Eileen Guerin.
Hello, Mr. Kennedy.
Just wanted to play that one. I think that was a really good, powerful clip. I found that very powerful, very insightful, what Kennedy was saying there. So he's talking about draining the swamp. Now, the next one that I want to play is from the part 3 of that interview. I guess I should have given some type of background, a little bit about it. This is another speech that Kennedy did. This one here, I think it's this one. Yeah, here it is. So this here was from WMUR TV. This was RFK doing kind of like almost like a this is called Conversation with the Candidate, and there's a whole series. There's 3 videos. The first video is really good. Second one is even better. The third one is when the show went off the air. So they did a almost a 32-minute show just on YouTube. So this was online only for this one. And they jump right into immigration, right into it. So this one is really good. You could almost start at the very beginning, which I think is what I'm going to do here, and just kind of roll with it. But any topic that you think of, he's commented on. He's been asked about. They're going after him. Now, they're not doing this so much with Joe Biden. And sometimes you can't even really blame the media for not questioning Joe Biden, because first of all, you have to have a presidential candidate who is open to it. And you have to be able to actually put Biden in this type of environment. Every other presidential candidate is put into this environment, but Biden isn't. That's not the news media's fault so much as it is the Biden campaign's fault, the Biden administration's fault. So they're just thinking, well, you know what? It's going to be Trump. Let's just go after him. They've been, you can see how they've gone after Trump, what they've been doing to him while the world is crumbling around them. The Biden administration is just focused on Trump. There's a lot more things to focus on now. There's some great candidates in this race. Larry Elder is great. Mr. Vivek, and I can't pronounce his last name. I need to learn how to pronounce his last name properly. There's RFK, Ron DeSantis, and of course, President Trump. And they're all gunning for the same job. And here you have Biden, who's just not even there. Just so many gaffes and so many strange things that are happening with him. And to a certain extent, the media is protecting him, but I see that changing too. They're loosening that grip, and they have to, if they want to keep viewers, if they want to keep people interested in it, they have to do that. And they're doing it in a lighthearted way. And they're like, well, as long as it isn't Trump, right? As long as we're not seeing Trump in a positive light or putting him in a positive light. The problem is a lot of the things that these other candidates are saying, RFK, Vivek, Larry Elder, Ron DeSantis. A lot of things that they are saying are the exact same things that Trump has been talking about for years and will continue to talk about. And these are going to be the major issues when people look back and say, why didn't Biden do this? Why didn't we do that? Why didn't we just stick to what Trump did? And they're going to ask those simple questions. And we're going to continue to see that. So when you talk about the border, this is where RFK Jr. says, look, Trump got it right. And that's what he is basically saying in this next clip. This one will be a little bit long. He doesn't really talk about Trump specifically until about the 5:30 mark, but to set the background, we do kind of need to just hear what RFK Jr. says about the border where he visited. And as somebody pointed out, he took a camera, he took his phone and did a selfie video, a 2-minute video. And while he's there, this wasn't a big production with great lighting or everything. This was just RFK pulling up a camera, pulling up a cell phone and just talking, right? Trump doesn't even do that. So you have a guy who is even more engaged with the common man, with the common person. And I love it. And I'm sure most people do too, most voters do too, and maybe even people that can't vote right now. I hope the young people are paying attention to what is going on so that they can make an informed decision later and not get tricked the same way that so many people got tricked with George Bush, with Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, with Biden. But, only time will tell. Okay, so I'm going to play this clip, and I may even stop a few times, but I'm going to try to keep my mouth shut and play this. This is some really good stuff here, and this is WMUR TV, and this is the online segment.
Coming across, really, this is a massive humanitarian crisis. So, as president, what would you do about it?
Yeah,
Border
can I
issue.
describe it first, kind of what I saw? Because I flew down to Yuma, and then at 1 o'clock arrived at the 1 o'clock a.m. arrived at the border. And the first group when I arrived there was a group coming across of about, I think it was 2 busloads. It was about 100 and maybe about 100 people who were all West Africans. So I had expected I'd see a lot of Central Americans, people from Salvador and Panama and Guatemala, but that's not what it was. It was all Africans, African men, military age. Most of them were from Senegal. Next group that came across and they're just waiting in line to cross. Hundreds and hundreds of people. They come in buses of 55 each, and they're let off about a half mile, and then they walk to the gap in the fence, and they walk around. The next group, I went and talked to them, and there was only 2 families that were from Latin America, one from Colombia, one from Peru. The rest were from Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan, Tibet, Kazakhstan, Nepal, China, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Eastern Europe. And what's happening, and as I said, it's the insanity of it. They're brought across, they're fingerprinted to see if they have criminal records. If they don't, they're asked one question by the Border Patrol: do you have a contact in this country? And if they say yes, the Border Patrol says, can you put us on the phone with that contact? If they can do that, if they can get them on a cell phone, the Border Patrol asks them, if we put this family on an airplane, will you pick them up at Minneapolis or San Diego or Chicago and New York? And if that person says yes, and they take them to the airport, FEMA pays for their ticket, and they go anywhere they want in the country. 7 million people have come across. The cartels control all the immigration, and they have shifted from drug smuggling to make this one of their big, profit lines. So they are sending videos, social media videos all over the world, recruiting people from countries. They have lawyers who are working with them in other countries they tell them exactly what to do. You get on a plane to Mexico City. The cartels help you get a visa in Mexico City for Mexico. They then put you on an internal plane to Mexicali. The cartels have a parking lot filled with buses at Mexicali. You get on one of those buses, and then they drive you to the to the crossing, and there are 9 big crossings. And the one I went to was in Yuma, and the night I went there, probably 600 to 800 people came across, and the little town of Yuma is bearing a lot of the initial burden because a lot of these people are sick, so they go to the hospital. There's a lot of pregnant women. I talked to them. I spent a day with the head of the hospital, and he said that a few months ago there were so many pregnant immigrants in his hospital. They occupied 32 of the 35 beds on the maternity ward, and a lot of local women who had scheduled pregnancy inductions, induced births, C-sections, whatever, could not get in, had to cancel or postpone their appointments. He said that he spent $27 million of the hospital's budget last year unreimbursed to take care of the immigrants. And we talked with the sheriff who told us because the entire Border Patrol is now processing people, there's nobody guarding the border, and the drugs are pouring across through the other place. If you're a smuggler or a bad guy, you don't come through that fence, around that fence. These are all people who intend to stay in this country. When they stay, they're given a court date 7 years from now. And meanwhile, there's 1 million immigrants who are legally coming here, 1.1 million immigrants who go through the whole process, which could take them 8 or 10 years. And this is like a stick in the face for them. So, no country can survive if it can't control its borders, and we're not doing that. The good news is this, that everybody that I talked to there said that this is easy to stop. That the way to stop it is very, very simple, and that they've been doing it before. Now, I didn't like to hear this because I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump. I did not like his wall. But what the Border Patrol and everybody else said is, you don't need to build a physical barrier from San Diego, 2,200 miles to Brownsville, Texas. You do need a physical barrier in certain places where there's high density populations. The rest of it you can monitor with ground monitoring, very, very sophisticated surveillance and ground monitoring systems. Many of those were put up during the Trump administration, but for some reason, the Biden administration, when it came in, took down the towers and they removed the ground sensing systems. This is not something that, as a Democrat, that I want to hear. And then, once it got out that this is an open border and the cartels saw that there's a huge profit opportunity here, the flow has just increased exponentially. But we can stop it. During the Trump administration, the crossings at Yuma were about 10 to 25 a day at most. Now, as I said, they're 200 to 800 a day. So, we can solve this problem, but we need to do it in a way that's sensible, that's common sense, and that is not causing this terrible, terrible humanitarian crisis. From where I sat on the border, there's a tree that you can see on the other side of the fence, but it's in U.S. territory. It's called the rape tree. And it's where the cartels extract their final payment from women who come across, sometimes from children. The Border Patrol watches helplessly while they do this. I talked to people, this Peruvian family that I talked to that had lost their life savings because the cartels robbed them, they beat them, they extort them, they exploit them, and ultimately they rape them. And this is a humanitarian crisis that that we're creating through government negligence, and we need to end it for everybody's sake.
Let's get to a question from Ken Berlin.
So there's Kennedy. He really breaks it all down right there to some of the major issues right there. What these drug cartels are doing. In another clip, he talks about how they're not the drug cartel. They're being these walls. The people that are coming here, the illegals, they're being the border patrol is being bombarded. So much so that while the border patrol agents are just kind of handling the people standing in line, like how you saw in Kennedy's 2-minute video, the people in the background, while the border patrol people are concentrating on those people, then that's when the drug cartels, the human traffickers, child traffickers, they come through the other way. They come through these other illegal ways. And that's what they are doing. It's crazy stuff. It is really crazy stuff. So nobody's guarding the border at that point, right? It's what he's saying. And President Trump has been saying the same thing. They put him on a list. Okay, you get on this list and come back in 7 years. Come back in, I think Trump said 4 years. Kennedy is saying to come back in 7 years, right? And this is just nuts. You cannot have this. And they both said a country cannot protect itself if it does not have borders. So why would anybody want to vote for a guy, Joe Biden, who does not want to secure these borders? I mean, obviously, there's something else going on there, right? There has to be a reason. And there is a reason. There's multiple reasons. So that is all that I really wanted to cover for this show here. I think I'm going to end it right there. I think that's a good place to end it. In and out, very quick. But I was just so happy to finally get some type of a clip that had President Trump actually talking about RFK Jr. It was quick, it was short. I think as time goes on, hopefully we get more. But again, the only presidential candidate so far, I can't say that. I can't even say that because there's been some Republican candidates that Trump has not gone after. But he always says in his last couple of speeches, he goes after the number two. Number two right now is Ron DeSantis. So if we look at if we look at President Trump's Truth Social, we'll just go there quickly here, and even on his website, you can see exactly what he's doing, who he's going after, and it's pretty clear. And he goes after the threat, and I don't know. That's his approach. If that works for him, and that's fine. I don't know. What is this here?
This is the final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media, and we will liberate America from these villains once and for all.
I like that. Gotta like that. Yeah, that's cool. So it just takes me back to things I do like about Trump. And so there you go. And he's been posting a lot of polls. And for me, I skip through a lot of this stuff. Polls, polls. We know who's in the polls. Unless the poll includes RFK, I'm kind of checked out on it because I don't believe Ron DeSantis is going to beat Trump in any of these polls, but who knows? But what do the polls really matter? Now, there was something I saw earlier by RSBN News, who I follow a lot. Let's read this. This was posted 7 hours ago. The DeSanctimonious campaign is dead. His polls are dropping like a rock. And the DOJ, FBI are continuing their illegal outrageous weaponization against me only because I am leading Biden by so much. It's called election interference. He's absolutely right. And they have no fear against DeSantis. He's the one that they are dying to run against despite their disinformation campaign. Dispute, but I know he meant despite. Stephen Miller endorses him, not from the Stephen Miller Band, as far as I know. There's another one here. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Oh, this is good too. I definitely will add this book to my collection. Carrie Lake. I do like Carrie Lake. Unafraid. I am really looking forward to reading that book. I know what it's going to be about. I'm sure you do too. Election interference, also known as fraud. So, some other great books that are coming out to add to my collection. But that's what he said 12 hours ago. And I don't know, didn't really mention what the ruling was, but I'm sure it's out there somewhere. So there's another ruling. This is a great day for America. People with extraordinary ability and everything else necessary for success, including future greatness for our country, are finally being rewarded. This is the ruling everyone was waiting and hoping for, and the result was amazing. It will also keep us competitive with the rest of the world. Our greatest minds must be cherished, and that's what the wonderful day has brought. We're going back to all merit based, and that's the way it should be. Oh, affirmative action. That's what he's talking about, affirmative action. I believe R.F. Kennedy talked about that too, affirmative action. I'm going to try to see if I can find that. Try to find that. He posted something about affirmative action. Let me share this tab while I sneeze here for a second. Or not. No sneezing so far. Okay, so I really want to hear. This is an interesting one. Do you think I should make Bill Maher my new campaign manager? This is a 2-minute clip. Before I get to that, I really want to read what he says about um, the affirmative action thing that came. Okay, which I didn't even know about until reading, looking at it. This is another reason why I follow these guys. I don't have time, man. I work a 9 to 5 job. Okay. I got family life and everything. And so it's nice they make it easy. And you got to thank, Elon Musk for taking over Twitter, to helping set this new standard for social media, for what social media should be, whether we like it or not. And let me see if I can even make this a bit bigger. That's what she said. Okay. I'll play this one, or let's read this here. Regarding the Supreme Court banning affirmative action on higher education, I know many Americans feel that purely race-based decisions are unfair. I do. My dad, uh, he'll tell this story. He'll joke about it. I should get him on here sometime. But he'll joke about how one of the main things why he was able to become a firefighter, he believes that affirmative action helped him, and that maybe there were other people that were more qualified. I'm for the merit-based system, but let's hear what Kennedy has to say. He says, I know many Americans feel that purely race-based decisions are unfair. Well, they should be. If it's based on a race, that's racism. That's not what we want. We want the best people. I don't care what race they are. Remember, we all came from Adam and Eve. And Kennedy knows that. I think he's a Catholic. Trump knows that. He is a Christian. So they both believe in Christ. They both believe in the Bible, right? So we should know that race should not matter. Now there is racism, and we do have some issues where we feel like people are being held down. I've been a victim of racial discrimination, and I don't want to win anything. I don't want to get anything based on my race. I don't cry foul because I've been pulled over by cops, where I felt like it was, they pulled me over because I looked suspicious, because of my skin color, because I was wearing a beanie, whatever I was wearing, right? And I felt like that, but I didn't hold it against people. And I don't know. I don't like the victim based mentality that some of us have. I don't believe RFK Jr. has that. He's a very articulate person, and it's probably very disrespectful of me to actually interrupt his quote to let him get his view across. It's a very powerful view. Make sure you follow him if you're on Twitter. This is a great person to follow and to get their views. It's a great point of view. I'm going to start over again. This was posted 6 hours ago. Today is June 29th, 2023. Regarding the Supreme Court banning affirmative action in higher education, I know many Americans feel that purely race-based decisions are unfair. However, this feeling misses important context. The effects of racist policies going back centuries are now self-perpetuating. Affirmative action understands this and uses race-based policies to undo the effects of racist policies. Colorblind admissions tend to favor those who are already in the circle of privilege. It favors those who grow up in affluent, educated households. Wouldn't you like to invite in those who have been left out in the cold? Yeah, invite them to the table, just as Jesus Christ did, but don't put them at the head of the table there. I don't know. I mean, I've always felt like working for it. But he makes I can see exactly where he's coming from, because if you just have the same circle, it's like, well, if you're not part of that circle, right? But they could also use affirmative action to just make you a part of that circle, where then it's only people of race base get in there, right? So it's, I mean, I could see both sides of it. I understand what he's saying because I've lived through it, but I don't necessarily agree with it. But I do love and respect the fact that he's willing to take that stance for what he believes in. That is what we need, a good, honest conversation here. I do want to play this one. I want to shut this down very, very soon, but I do want to play this where he is talking. Can you imagine? Come on. I like Dennis Kucinich as his campaign manager. Do you think? Here's what RFK Jr. says about 3 hours ago. Do you think I should make at Bill Maher my new campaign manager? Kennedy 24. No, I'm gonna say no. That's just me, though. I could be wrong, but I'm gonna go ahead and say no to that.
And you don't care what dies with the.
So let me start this over. This is a 2-minute clip. This may be a good way to end this one here. Let's watch this together. You see, I always want to look at the settings to see if there's any higher quality that I can make. I still don't understand Twitter. I don't think I ever will. Happy to be here, though.
I've litigated hundreds of lawsuits. Almost all of those lawsuits involve some kind of scientific controversy. And every one of those lawsuits, there's experts on both sides. When I sued Monsanto,
Right.
I had experts from Yale, from Harvard, and Stanford, and Monsanto had experts from Yale, Yale, Stanford, and Harvard. And the jury believed our experts. But there's always experts on both sides of every.
Right, and you can pay someone.
And
to
you can
be-
pay somebody. They're called biostitutes.
But
You can-
see, these kind of things, which seem a little boring and a little in the past, but these are the kind of things I think really need to be brought to the forefront of your campaign. You sued Monsanto. I think a lot of people are in the belief that I am, that Monsanto kind of evil as far as my health goes. Like, I know you want to grow as many crops as you can and you want to kill all the bugs and you don't care what dies with the bugs, but I was never a big Monsanto fan. So this, as a voter, if my vote's up for grabs and I hear, oh, Bobby Kennedy, did you know he sued Monsanto? He's the guy who went after that company with the Roundup and the whatever that is. I'd be like, yes, there's a guy who did something. Because so much of this is just talk. I mean, what is Trump? It's just all talk. They don't approach it rationally. That he always comes on stage with that promises kept banner behind him. Like, what promise does this guy ever keep? They don't care. So I forget what the lesson was there, but I'm telling you, I'm going to be your campaign manager before this is over.
I would doubt that, just based on that. Yeah, promises kept. I've seen we've seen some of the promises that have been made and the promises kept, but that's okay. I mean, that's Bill Maher's view. If he doesn't agree with that, I'm definitely not a Bill Maher fan. And no, I would not want that guy to run RFK Jr.'s campaign. That would not be good in my view. But I did like that clip. I thought that was a pretty good clip there. Oh, here's another one. Here's a good one. Let me see. Let me go back and share this one here. I mean, Kennedy is out there, man. He's out there with the people. And this is what I think a lot of us liked about the Kennedys, and they're with the people. So let me see if I could play this one. This one is about, it's about a
Hey,
minute.
everybody. This is Vel Scott, who founded this organic farm in the middle of a very, very tough community. And now she's providing good food for people in the community. Almost every urban Black community in this country is a food desert. There's a food apartheid, as I've learned here today, going on in this country. And the food, and a lot, partially because of that, there's a chronic disease rate among African Americans that exceeds for any other. And one of the reasons African Americans died more commonly, disproportionately during the pandemic, was because of those diseases of diabetes, asthma, and the other diseases that affect people because they're getting toxics in their food and from other sources. So I want to thank Vel Scott and all these amazing people, this beautiful community of organic farmers in the middle of Cleveland. If you like this video and you want to help me become president of the United States, go to Kennedy24.com and donate now.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Absolutely love it. So he's out there. He's with the people. He's very engaged, talking to them. And again, something you won't see Trump do. Now, maybe that's because he's a former president. You know, there's security issues and everything. I don't know. I don't know exactly what is going on there. But the topics. What is this here? So I'm just looking at. I should probably share this while I look at it. That may help. But just looking at, the things that RFK Jr. is posting here, it's covering so many things. Now, this is a guy you would want to ask about 911. This is what I would want to hear, hey, what are your views on 911 and everything? Hey, have you looked at this? Have you looked at that? That would be very interesting. But this, I don't even know if I can play this or what this is, but this goes back to the COVID vaccine mandates here too. Recently revealed emails show that CDC was lying when they said the vaccine stopped infection. It wasn't that the science changed, they knew and they lied. So it's like he was saying, you can get an expert to argue both sides, have expert on this side, on that side, and then that's when the judge decides, how to move forward with it. That's why you have a judge. That's what the checks and balances were there for. He says, remember when it was shocking when the government lied to you? There was once such a time. I remember my father telling me sadly, politicians lie. That was in the 1960s when people expected honesty. By now, we've been lied to so many times. We automatically discount all political speech and try to decode it for the quote-unquote message. Get ready to start expecting the truth from the government agencies when I am president. There you go. There you go. That's what you want to hear. Kennedy swag right there. Got to get some of that swag. There is another thing that I did want to play. Let's see. Oh, so I have not seen this one. I haven't seen any of this stuff here. But, is this, okay. Okay. Yeah. No, I was hoping that was one of Kennedy's things driving. So you got the pin post. I think I played this before. I'm not sure, but I'm going to play this again just for fun of it. I love the guy sitting behind the seat turned around the other way. That's cool. I'll take it. We're going to wrap this up very soon.
Hey, everybody, people watching this campaign are thinking that we probably have $100 million in the bag because I've now got 20% of the polls in the Democratic primaries.
20%.
And I have the strongest favorability ratings of either President Biden or President Trump. in a general election. So when we have to make our filing on July 1st with the Federal Election Commission, people are going to be surprised that we have raised less than $4 million. I've spent practically
Wow.
every moment since this campaign started, not on fundraising, but on getting my message out to the people. And I have to say that in the process of that, I've alienated probably every big money donor in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. So I'm not going to be getting any money from those guys. I need some money from you. We're not spending your money on expensive consultants or glossy TV commercials. We're doing this on a busman's budget. But with that, we have a 50-state organization. We're blowing up social media. We're really performing very well on the podcast, and we've made that $4 million perform like $400 million. I hope that you also have an assurance that when I get to the White House, I'm going to spend your money wisely as well. I want to ask you if you intended to give to the campaign at some point, to do it between now and the end of this month, before July 1st. That's when it's going to really count for us. So even if you can only give $5 or $10, I value that very, very much. So please give us your support today.
Now, I do plan on doing that, and I generally don't give money to any of these. I've never given any money to President Trump, but I probably, listening to that, that makes me want to donate. Yeah, I could donate $5, donate $10 to him. Why not? But then I'm like, why didn't I do that for President Trump? Well, I don't know. I didn't feel like he needed it. I don't feel like Kennedy needs it either. But the campaign laws, the campaign finance laws, things like that, you can only donate so much to the presidential nominee, I guess. So, if you do want to donate, Kennedy24.com/donate. And so I was looking at some of the other things that have been posted, especially hearing so much. I mean, really, people really believe that Donald Trump is a racist. Now, I find that hard to buy. I always found it hard to buy. And it's crazy how all of a sudden, once he runs for president, all of a sudden he's a big racist. But here's an article from the Washington Free Beacon. Donald Trump is least racist living president, historical analysis finds. So Big Don is only POTUS, not descended from slave owners. That includes Barack Obama. That's interesting. So what happened? Reuters investigated the family background of U.S. political leaders and found that many of them are descended from slave owners. I mean, whether they descended from slave owners or not, I don't believe that would make them a racist or anything. So I don't know. I have a hard time believing that. But that's a whole nother thing. Sorry, my friend Ross is doing the show. Sorry about this. I'm distracted. But I mean, I've been hearing this for a long, long time. So I don't know. I don't believe that whether you're descended from slave owners or not, I don't believe that has anything to do with it. But I just found that article interesting. That was something that was posted on Truth Social. Maybe I should have read that before because, yeah, not a big fan of that. This is the one, the RSBN network, the op-ed. I don't agree with this. It says Donald Trump need not attend the debate. I believe he needs to. He needs to debate, and he needs to. That's a big, big deal because I can't sit here and say, well, how come Biden won't debate RFK, but then say, well, Trump doesn't need to debate. No, they need to debate. The people need to hear this. Donald Trump he can do 3 speeches in one day. We've seen that. He can debate anybody, but this is an op-ed opinion piece. So it's not, it's just this person's view on that. Nothing wrong with that. You should all be entitled to have your view. Definitely agree with that. So have your own view on it. But I believe he needs to debate. But if you want to hear this person's view, you definitely can go check that out on RSBN, RSBN Network, rsbnetwork.com. And this is an article written by Elad Hakim, June 26th. This is written Monday too, and I strongly disagree with this. Very, very strongly disagree with this here. They need to debate. So, and Trump has talked about this. This is why you probably won't hear Trump talk about, well, Biden is not debating, or he should, but Biden's announcement, there was a pre-packaged announcement here. So let me just show you this in case you have not seen this, but this is the op-ed here. Donald Trump need not attend the debate. Elad Hakim, June 26, 2023. And, okay, let me just read a little bit of this. Trump has no reason to appear. Yes, he does, because the people want to hear him. Trump is going to do 2 or 3 speeches every day, but he doesn't have time to debate. Of course not. And I believe Trump will. I really think that he will end up debating, showing up, if there are Republican debates, which there probably will be. Putting aside the ridiculous Republican pledge to support imposed on all debate participants, Trump has a more compelling reason why he need not attend. He is winning. Well, if he's winning, then you show up. You show up and win. Show up and win. And it's not about, well, we don't want to give the other guys time or anything. We don't want to give them a platform. No, people want to hear them. This is only going to help Trump. If he doesn't show up, I believe that's going to hurt him. But that's just my view. You can go and read this if you believe any of it. But again, I believe, Biden needs to debate RFK Jr. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Donald Trump doesn't need to debate. He needs to debate, and he will easily win. That's just my view. All right, so not a fan of that article there. And I think that is about it. I think that's about all I wanted to cover on this one. Yep, God bless you all. Thank you for watching this. Definitely appreciate that. We will be back with part 8 coming up soon. Just covering everything that is happening in the world of Trump, in the world of RFK Jr., and trying to cover this in real time, I'm trying to write this book in real time. So God bless you all, and until next time, see you.